Right, so this is topic 6, the last topic of this chapter. So I want you to pause this video and write down the steps 1 through 5. Right, so let's put those steps into action. The first step says get 0 on the right side of the equation. So step 1 for this first example is already done. Now we need to factor the left side. Because it's a trinomial, I know that I'm going to have my x's with my parentheses, and I got to keep the equals to 0 sign. I'm looking for numbers that multiply to 15, but add to -8. So factors of 15 are 1 and 15, -1 and 15, -1 and -15, 3 and 5, or -3 and -5. So the two that add to -8 are -3 and -5. So we just did step 2, which was to factor the left side. What comes next is that we're going to use what we did in topic 3 in order to solve this. We're going to set each of those sets of parentheses equal to 0. So that's step 3. Step 4 is to solve both. So all I have to do, add 3 to both sides, and then add 5 to both sides. And those are my two solutions, x equals 3 and x equals 5. Let's try the second example. So the first thing that I need to do is get 0 on the right side. 0 is not on the right side of the equation, so that means I need to use the opposite operation to move both of those terms to the other side. So I'm going to add 10x because it's a negative sign, but subtract 24 because 24 is positive. When I do that, I get x squared plus 10x minus 24, and since everything canceled out on the right side, I finally have 0 on the right side. Now I need to factor the left side of the equation. So I have my x's. I'm looking for two numbers that multiply to -24 that add to 10. So that's going to be positive 12 and -2. The next step is to split it up and set both of them equal to 0. So I have x plus 12 equal to 0, and I have x minus 2 is equal to 0. Solve both of them. And we get two solutions. Now the last step is to check your work, so you can always plug in those values into the original equation to see if it's true. This last example is a little bit of a crazy one, and you won't be quizzed or tested on this, but you might see it in the future for an opportunity for some bonus points. So I would pay attention and write this down because you could get some extra credit if you know how to do this. So when I look at my steps, I need to get 0 on one side of the equation. However, I have this junk over here that I can't just set equal to 6 because the zero product property says it has to be equal to 0. So the first thing I'm going to do is FOIL the left side. So when I multiply, I get x squared minus 2x plus 3x minus 6 is equal to 6. Then I'm going to combine my like terms. So that step gives me x squared. Negative 2x plus 3x is positive 1x. Now that I have I messed up. It's equal to 6. So from here, this is familiar. So I'm going to follow old steps from this point on. So that means the first thing I need to do is get 0 on the right side. So I'm going to subtract 6 from both sides. X squared plus x, negative 6 minus 6 is negative 12. So I finally have 0 on one side. Next, I'm going to factor the left side. I need two numbers that multiply to negative 12, but add to positive 1. So I'm thinking it's either 4 and negative 3 or negative 4 and 3. I need them to add to positive 1, so I'm going to pick 4 and negative 3. Now all I have to do from here is set each of those things equal to 0. X plus 4 equals 0, and x minus 3 is equal to 0. Let's go ahead and solve. And voila, we get two solutions, x equals negative 4 and x equals positive 3. That concludes your notes. I would like you to do the U-tries, and that is it for this chapter.